Okay then, you tuned in to Wayne's Electrical for another test time video, and in this one, the piece of test equipment has already been chosen because we've done that in the last video, and here it is. There we go. There we go. It's in that pouch, and we're going to be digging it out and having a good old look at it. And there we go. So, I'm going to get the camera a bit closer to it, and into it we go. The case of test equipment is behind the camera, so don't worry about that, because at the end of this video we'll be getting out the old wiggly finger and choosing the next bit of test equipment for the video after this one. Okay, so let's get into that one then. Let me angle the camera straight downwards like that. I will need to actually reposition the camera because it's in its own shadow. This here is the shadow of the camera. Right, let me spin it around like that. There we go, no shadow, because the light's over this way, is my hand, you see. So, here's our bit of equipment then, which we're going to be discussing in this video. So, let me undo the pouch. The zip goes all the way around. I will just check I've got it the right way up, because it would be embarrassing to open it up and it's all upside down and back to front and inside out. We can't have any of that happening. Okay, we've got to do this with a certain degree of professionalism, haven't we? So let's open it up then and discuss today's video, which is a Dialog DL6402 clamp meter. There it is, right there. Get it out the case. There it is. So what can we do with that then? There's a whole variety of functions that this does. I've just got to put my finger over that screen because, you know, it's a reflective surface and I'm not the video subject. So, what does it do? How does it do it? What does it do it? When does it do it? And what would you use it for? What's this big old thing up the top here? Let's zoom in on the selection dial then and have a good old look at what it does and how it does it. Right, to start off with then, right down the bottom there, it says off because it currently is. Okay. The next function round, where that little dot is, I've rotated that around to there. It says volts and hertz. Okay, so it can measure voltage and how fast the power is wiggling backwards and forwards. Okay, generally 50 Hertz in the UK. It can measure direct current as well, so you would choose the mode button, you press the mode button and press it into alternating current or direct current. There's the model number there, DL6402. Okay, that's that one there. If you rotated it around to the next one, you can measure resistance with it, capacitance, you can do a diode check, and you can also use it for continuity as well. Rotating it up one more, you can measure temperatures with it. Okay, and that there would be in Celsius. Rotating it up one more, you could measure temperature with it again, but this time in Fahrenheit. Now, when you rotate it up to the next one, it then enters into another mode, which is measuring amps. And rotating it to there would measure up to 40 amps. Okay, I think the minimum is something like 10 milliamps. 10 milliamps up to 40 amps then. And once again rotate it up another one and it's 400 amps, and rotate it right up to the top, you can measure 1000 amps. Okay, now how do you measure amps with this thing then? Well, that's this thing here. Okay, you've got a trigger on the side here, you press that and it opens that up, and what you'd do, if you think my finger's a cable, you'd open that up, get it around the cable like that. Okay, and what happens is, as the power's going through the cable, there'll be like a magnetic swell forming around that cable, and that magnetic field, it builds up inside this, and obviously speaking of all current that's going through that cable, the stronger that field is, and this picks it up, translates it into a bit of hocus pocus, and shows it on that readout display down the bottom there. Okay. With this one, you can measure alternating current on it as well as direct current. Some don't do direct currents. Say, for example, the Dialog DL6401. I don't think that one does direct currents. Yes. So, again, you've got to be careful. Again, on price, you know, if you go for the cheaper one, which is the DL6401, yeah, it'll be cheaper, but you won't be able to measure direct current on the clamp, which is why I've got this one, because it's that old saying once again, you pay a bit more and you get a whole lot more. And there are a few other things that the lesser version of this does not do. It's not just measuring amps in DC on the clamp that it doesn't do. I think a couple of things it doesn't do is DC on the clamp, temperature, and I do believe a couple of other things. Okay, which is why I've gone for this one, which is the DL6402, because it does DC on the clamp, it does temperature, and a few other things as well. There's other ones further up the range which does even more than what this one does. For, say, for example, the DL6404. I had one of those, but it went pulp. Okay, this is a replacement to it. I couldn't afford another DL6404. So at the time, so I had to settle for this one. And as far as functionality goes, this is the nearest further down the range that you'll get to the DL6404, and this one is the 6402, of course. Okay, so yes, there is a DL6403, but again, for some really weird cranky reason, it doesn't do DC on the clamp. Okay. So, yeah, it's just a funny way that Dialog have set it up. The 6401 and the 6403 don't do DC on the clamp, and I don't believe they do temperature either. But 6402, which is this one, and 6404 do actually do DC on the clamp and temperature. And, again, the 6404 does a few other bonus additional functions, which this one doesn't do. And yeah, that's where basically I found I was missing those features and functions. And yeah, I don't mind this one. You know, it's quick, it's easy, it's straight to the point. It does what I expect of it. But you know, little things about it which gets my goat basically. As an example, you've got a hold button there. When you're doing, say for example, measuring voltage or measuring current on the clamp, the readouts will say a certain number. And you can press the hold button, take it off the cable, and then it doesn't matter where this is, the readout result holds on the screen. Okay, that can be handy, because if you've got this in a control panel and it's over on its side like that, and you've got a big old cable going through there and you can't turn it over to see the screen, you put that on the cable, leave it for a little while, leave it to settle, and then press the hold button, take it off the cable, and then you can see what the result was. Okay, so that's handy, nice little hold function. But what gets more goat about that hold function is it's a 2-in-1 function. Okay, if you press it, it'll hold the display. If you press it again, it'll take that hold function off. Now, on another one further up the range in this, the DL6404, there's another button on here. And if you press that, the display lights up. You can get the display to light up, and you press it again, it turns it off. Well, this one doesn't have that button to make the display light up, but you can make the display light up. What you've got to do is you've got to press the hold button, but keep hold of it. Okay, then the display lights up. But the thing is, if you want the display to light up, you can't get the display to light up without first holding the result on the screen. So what you've got to do is press hold, and then press it to release the hold function, but keep it pressed down, and then the display lights up. It's a pest. I could demonstrate that in a moment, turn it on, because there is a battery in it. But that's one of those little things that gets my goat. They've actually taken one of the functions of the DL6404 and combined it with a hold button. Just so that, it's a bit of a pest. It does tick me right off. And on this one, you've got to manually choose the range. On the DL6404, it's automatic. And because it's automatic, that then leaves that button free so that you can use it as a light switch to turn the light on and off. But because this one is manually selectable, they've actually used that for the range. And then the light switch, they've actually built it into the hold button. Silly little things like that which tick me off, you know. And, yeah, so there we go. But, there it is. Now these holes down the bottom of here, again, if you're measuring voltage or doing continuity, diodes check, temperature, anything like that, you use these because you do need, obviously speaking, additional equipment to connect into that. Like, say, for example, if you're measuring temperature, you've got to connect a temperature measurement probe in there. I do have one, it's in that case, and we'll be looking at that soon. Okay. Yeah, so there it is. Let me turn this thing on and I'll just show you that thing about what I was saying about with the display, to get it to flipping thing to light up. Right, I'm going to put it on AC voltage. Right, if I can get that to go to 0. Right, there it is, and it's on 0. I don't know why it's saying 1 on it. 1, 2, 3. Right, there you go, 0 then. Now, to get that to light up, I'm going to have to press the hold button. It should say hold on there now, up the top there. There you go, you can see it in there, it says hold. Hold and 0. So I'm going to take it off again, like that. But as you can see, the screen doesn't light up. So what I've got to do is I've got to press that to hold it. And then to get the screen to light up, I have to press that to unhold it and just keep that button pressed in, and then the screen lights up like so. That, like that, you see. That's a flipping pest. You know, with the DL6404, you see where that button says range on it? That was the light switch. Okay, you just press that and it lights up, you press it again, it turns off. How easy is that? Not on this one. You've actually got to press the hold button. And again, if I want to turn that off now, before it times out, I've got to press that to turn it off. But as I press it, it puts it on hold. Like that. Okay. And again, to turn it off, I've then got to press that to unhold it and turn it off. Like that. What a flipping pest. And that is one of a few things about the DL6402 that gets my goat, and I, you know, think, oh, for goodness sake. But like I say, at the time, I couldn't afford a replacement DL6404. This one was just under £100 at the time when I got it, and I got a feeling the replacement DL6402 was getting on for nearly on double that, or just over. I can't really remember now, but there we go. And I didn't have the cost, the money to get DL6404, so I had to settle for this one. So I even actually got another additional discount on it because I actually purchased this on a well-known auctioning website at a price. I think I got about 20 or 30, £35 off it or something like that. I can't remember, but there it is. I actually got it cheaper than what it was being sold at my stockist, which is why I got it to start with. Okay, brand new in the box when I got this. Okay, no one had ever used it. It was untouched. I think it's even still got its original battery in the back of it, that'll tell you. Has it? No, it hasn't actually. Tell a lie, that wore out. Because, you know, it's just cheap budget battery just to quickly demonstrate it in the shop that, you know, this is what it does and all that lot. Okay, and then you use it for about 3 or 4 times and then the battery kills. So there we go. So, I've discussed all what this does on the front of here. When we come back after the break, we're going to be having a look in that case because we've got a whole variety of leads and wires and things in here. So stay there and we'll come back after the break and have a look at that little lot. Okay then, you've come back after the break because now what we're going to be doing is having a look at all the test leads and probes and goodness knows what else, which comes supplied with a dialog DL6402. So let's get into that now. There it is then, there's the bit of test equipment in the case, but we've discussed that in section 1. What we're going to be discussing now is all these test leads and probes and goodness knows what else, which comes supplied with the DL6402. Instruction manual, we'll look at that in a moment or two. We'll just tuck that underneath. We've got this, we'll look at that a little bit later. First off then, test leads. It's pretty obvious what these do, how to use them and all that lot. A bit how basic these ones. So you've got on the end of there, here's your test probes then. You can see on the end of there the little tips. And with these you can actually remove these ends off of here. Okay, just in case it isn't enough to get into where you're testing for voltage or doing the continuity or whatnot. And these little ends just come off like that. You just twizzle them. And there you go. So you've got all that probe on there now. I've only uncovered one so you can compare one to the other. You've got all that on that one, and just that one then is covered up. You can do the same with the red one. There you go. Okay. Now the whole idea of having them covered up, it's something to do with something called GS38. Okay, which says you really should only have a minimal amount of probe exposed. Now there's a reason for that, and that is to do with if you've got that inside a control panel or something, and you're testing the live, and right next to that is a neutral connection. Okay, if you've got all of that exposed like that, and it leant over and touched the neutral as well, this conductive part on here, if this touched the live and neutral, there would be a heck of a bang. And yeah, I'm pretty sure in the past there has been accidents like that, which is why we've now got GS38, which says that you've only really should have a minimal amount of test probe available there to get on the terminal, and so that it, you know, when you touch it on there, it can't lean across and touch onto some other terminal which has got a different potential on it, and therefore create a fault current and result in hefty great bang. Okay, because don't forget, when that happens, it's not just how loud it is, it's how bright it is. You know, you could damage your eyes, you can damage your hearing. Okay, and that probe on there, you know, if there's enough current going through it, it will just be obliterated. You'll have loads of melted test probes buried in your face, and yeah, that can be particularly fatal. So GS38 then says that you can only have a minimal amount of test probe showing, just to prevent that from happening. On the other end of this then, we've obviously got the little plugs for going into the tester. When you get them, they come like that. Okay, and you're probably thinking, how on earth do you connect those up then? Well, these little things on here come out the end, and you've got the, obviously, terminals in there. So you take those out. They're like little dust caps. Okay, just to stop dust going in there and making a bad connection. And these go in the respective holes. One in there, and the other one in there like that. Okay, so you get the gist of what's going on there. You turn it on for measuring voltage or continuity or whatnot. Get your test probes, and in there you go. We're not doing that in this video. This is just a general discussion video. We're not doing any demos. That'll be in another video on another day. So let me take that out of there. Okay, so that's your test probes then for measuring voltage and continuity and whatnot. Okay, so there we go. Now, measuring temperature then. That's a bit of a different set of test probes. And you need this. Okay, that on there, you get the two terminals. That plugs into there. Now with this, you've got to make sure you get this in the correct way round, because if you don't, you get funky readings and whatnot. So what they've done on here, I'm going to keep this in the bag, I'm not getting it out the bag, but down the bottom there you've got a plus and a minus little logo on there. There you go, you can see it on there. Minus and plus. So the plus would go in the red hole, and your minus would go in the black hole. Okay, if you get that around the wrong way, you do get funky readings. If I can find it in there somewhere, it's in there somewhere. There's like a little black thing on the end, a little pip. Right, there it is. There's the black thing, then the little pip on the end. That little pip is what measures the temperature. Okay, so you put that, touch that onto, like, say for example, the casing of a motor or a transformer or something like that, or something which is warm or cold for that matter, and that temperature will vary the resistance of that, and it's that how the test equipment verifies and measures the amount of temperature that there is. Okay. Depending on the setting that you've got the test equipment on, you can measure in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Okay, and this will do it. Okay. So we looked at all the test probes then, for that. The black and the red test probes for measuring continuity, voltage, and all of that. And for measuring temperature. Instruction manual, you get an instruction manual with it. Again, in recent times you can actually go onto the Dialog website and get a PDF version of this. Okay, so if you ever lose this or it becomes damaged and unreadable, you can go on the Dialog website and download the PDF version. This instruction manual is a 2-in-1 instruction manual and is suited for the DL6401 and the DL6402. What I've got is a DL6402, which is this one. Okay, and as you can see up there, for this one it says 1000 amp AC clamp meter. Okay, but with this one, the DL6402, it's 1000 amp AC and DC clamp meter. Okay, so like I say, there are certain extra functions that the 6402 does that the 6401 does not do. Okay, just as an example, I'm not going to whiz right through this, but if I go in here, there are certain things in here which says, like for when you're testing for like direct current on the clamp, and then in brackets it say DL6402 only. Okay, so if I look in here, it will say certain things like that, if I can find it. Right, up the top here then, if I can zoom in on that. Right, up the top here then, as you can see, it says resistance and continuity measurements, and then in brackets they've put DL6402. Okay. Now I'd like to think that the DL6401 can do resistance and continuity measurements, but how it does it may be slightly different, or the readings might be slightly different. Okay. So yes. So there we are. And it's the same with, like if you're measuring direct current amps. Again, it says on here up the top, diode measurements, DL6402. So maybe the 6401 doesn't do diode measurements. Okay, so they've actually stated it in there that it's 6402 only. And same with capacitance measurements. Again, maybe the 6401 doesn't do that. Okay, if you've got a DL6401, it would be interesting for you to get on the comments box and tell me whether or not it does capacitance measurements. Now with this one, frequency or duty cycle measurements, and it doesn't specify any particular model. So I seem to think that applies to both the 6401 and 6402. With this one over here though, temperature measurement, and then in brackets it says DL6402. Okay, so yes, anyone buying the the DL6401 and they look through this and think, oh look, there's 2-in-1 here, and they start flicking through this, they then start realising that the features that they're missing out on because they purchased the 6401, and that is exactly why I checked these things out before buying and found that the 6402 is the better of the two. Okay. So yes, it's all in there. I'm pretty sure it says somewhere in here about measuring AC and DC. I will just try and find it for you. Specifications. Just bear with me a moment. Right, it does actually say on there then. I've just found it, but the funny thing is it doesn't actually say on there not for the DL6401. Right, up the top then, DC and AC current measurements. Now next to that it should say 6402 only. Okay. And again, look, step 2. Select the AC or DC with a mode button. Again, next to that it should say 6402 only. Because the 6401 doesn't do DC on the clamp. So I've got a feeling there's a bit of an error in that. Okay. So there we are. Yeah, so I've got a feeling there's a bit of a printing error on that. It should say DL6402 only there. And on that number 2, select AC or DC with the mode button, and the next to that, 6402 only. So yeah, I've got a feeling there's a bit of a misprint in that somewhere. Because I do know that the 6401 doesn't do DC on the clamp. Okay. Let's see if it says it in the specifications, because I'm pretty sure it would do. Right, here we go. Yes, it does. So they've listed it in the specifications then. There you go. DC current. DL6402 only. So that verifies it, that on that instruction where it says how to measure DC current, that it is a misprint in there. So there you go. DC current, DL6402 only. And that is that. Okay. So there we are. DC current, DL6402 only. AC current, well it doesn't say, because both of them can measure AC current. But it's only the DL6402 that can measure DC current as it's stated there correctly. But on that other thing, that is a misprint in there. Because it's up there, it says DC and AC measurements, current measurements, and then next to that it should say DL6402 only. And again on that number 2, select AC or DC with the mode button, and next to that it should say DL6402 only, but they've obviously omitted that out of mistake. And there we go. And again, they've shown you how to attach it onto the cable. Okay, you've got one conductor there and you've got another conductor there, and you attach it onto one of the conductors. That's the correct way, and that's the incorrect way. Okay, because if you've got current going through this cable and current back through this way, if you do that, one conductor cancels out the other, so you'd get 0 on the screen. Okay, so that's the correct way and that's the incorrect way. So there we go, little instruction book then for, well, it covers 2 models, the DL6401 and the DL6402. I'm going to put that back in the case then. And that's all the bits and pieces you get supplied with a Dialog DL6402. Again, you'd get these set of test probes with the 6401, but you won't get one of these because the DL6401 does not do temperature measurements. Okay, let me put all that back in there, and test temperature test probe, of course. Right, let's close that up then. Now, if you enjoyed that video, what I would like you to do is a big old thumb up. Okay. If you haven't yet subscribed, I would recommend you do right now, because I'm just about to dive back in that case of test equipment. Wiggly Finger is going to choose a bit of test equipment for the next video, and you know, as an entities just to keep you hooked in. And there we go. So I'm going to tilt the camera up now, Squeaky tripod, do excuse that. Here comes the case of test equipment. Let's open it up then. Firstly, I'm going to put away the bit of test equipment we just discussed. There's a big old gap there, and that is where the Dialog DL6402 goes. Okay, right, let's pick up the camera then, and our wiggly finger is going to choose a bit of test kit for the next video, which you'll be seeing on another day. Here comes wiggly finger then. Okay, let's do it. Stop. Okay, it's this one. If I can get it out. Right, there it is. That one. This here, we will be discussing this in another video on another day. Okay, and that is why it's really important to make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. Okay, and we'll go from there then. Let me put that back in there. Like that. Yes, that does actually live right next to the Dialog DL6402, which is what we've just discussed in this video. Other things at around about this point in time, there's already an established test time playlist on Wayne's Electrical. Okay, so you can go in there and have a look at some of the other previously discussed bits of test equipment. And yeah, you can give a few thumbs on those videos as well while you're at it. So I'm going to close the case up then, and that wraps up this video. I would like to say thanks for tuning in for watching, and a little bit later on we shall be doing another test time video. Okay, so I'm out of here, and cheers for watching this one then.